My beloved child, gather close to me now, for tonight carries a weight in the spirit unlike any other night you have walked through. I speak to you not as a distant voice, but as a father who watches over the flock entrusted to him, feeling the tremble in your heart and the longing in your soul. There is a whisper in the heavens this very moment, a soft but thunderous movement, and it is calling your name. Yes, your name, my child. For there is 1 hour left, one divine hour before heaven seals a moment that was carved only for you. Tonight, the air around you is not ordinary. The room you sit in is not ordinary. The heartbeat in your chest is not ordinary. Because a secret blessing, one that has been held, guarded, preserved by the hands of God Himself, is being carried to you. And the messenger He has chosen is none other than Archangel Michael, the mighty one, the warrior of heaven, the one who steps forward when God says, "My child has cried long enough. Go. Open the way. For so long, my beloved, your tears have watered the ground beneath you. You have tried to smile. You have tried to stand. You have tried to hope, but still the night stretched longer than the days. Still the answers felt delayed. Still the blessing felt far. But tonight the atmosphere shifts. Tonight the heavens bend low. Tonight the angelic realm is not watching from afar. They are moving. I want you to feel the urgency of this moment. Not fear. Not pressure. But holy anticipation. For God does not move with panic. He moves with purpose. And when He says the window is open, it means that grace is flowing like a river, carrying something that has your name written on it in the handwriting of eternity. My child, listen closely. You have not stumbled upon these words by accident. You have not arrived here by coincidence. You were summoned into this moment. There is a tug in your spirit because heaven has aligned itself to deliver something long awaited. Something tears have spoken for. Something prayers have fought for. Something your spirit has whispered for in the quiet hours when no one saw your trembling hands or heard your tired sighs. There is one blessing, only one, that you have waited for too long. And heaven is saying, this is the night. This is the hour. This is the turning. But hear me, child, this moment is brief. This opening is precious. If ignored, it slips back into the chambers of heaven, waiting for another appointed time. But God, in His mercy, is offering it to you now. So sit with me in this prophetic night. Lean your heart toward the whisper of the Spirit. For before this hour ends, joy will touch what sorrow built. Laughter will rise where tears fell. And Archangel Michael, the mighty guardian, is already on his way. My beloved child, let us continue this sacred journey together, for the night is still heavy with meaning, and heaven is not finished speaking. As you sit with these words, I want you to breathe slowly and feel the nearness of God around you. This next part is a path into the quiet places of your waiting season, a long stretch of time where your heart wondered if God still remembered your name, your dreams, your desires, your whispered prayers. Tonight, my child, I want to walk with you into that place with gentle steps, because the waiting season is never wasted, even though it often feels like the heaviest test of a believer's life. For many of you listening, your waiting season has not been a moment, but years. Years of watching others celebrate while you stood at the doorway with hope in your hands, wondering when your turn would finally come. Years of hearing promises, receiving prophecies, believing deeply, yet seeing time slip by without the manifestation you longed for. And in that silence, in that gap between what was spoken and what was seen, your heart sometimes felt the ache of confusion. You asked questions that pinned themselves to the walls of your night. Why, God? When, God? Did I hear you correctly? Am I forgotten? My child, hear me as I speak this with the tenderness of a father. No tear you shed in that waiting season was wasted, and no prayer you whispered was ignored. The waiting was not punishment. The waiting was not rejection. The waiting was a womb. A place where God shaped you to hold the weight of what you were praying for. Because some blessings are too heavy to be delivered to an unprepared heart, and God, in His mercy, stretches us before He releases us into the fullness He has planned. Think back over your journey. Consider the many times you thought you were ready, yet now when you look back, you see moments where your strength would have broken had God answered too soon. You see relationships that would have collapsed under the blessing you were asking for. You see a maturity that would have mishandled the miracle. You see battles you were not yet trained to fight. Waiting does not weaken a believer. Waiting deepens one. And though you felt forgotten, you were actually being fortified. But I also know, my beloved child, that waiting can feel like an endless desert. It can make you question your own worth. It can make you feel as if heaven is silent and your prayers float in the air unheard. Yet even in those silent stretches, heaven was at work. Angels moved quietly around you. God shut doors not to punish you, but to protect you. Certain opportunities fell apart because heaven saw the storm hidden behind them. Certain people walked away because their presence would have poisoned what God was preparing to place in your hands. The waiting season taught you to stand. It taught you to surrender. It taught you to pray in the dark when light refused to break through. It taught you to walk without answers. It taught you to trust without evidence. And now, tonight, you stand at the edge of that season, and heaven whispers that your endurance has not been overlooked. The tears you cried in secret have become seeds in the spirit, and seeds do not remain seeds forever. They break. They rise. They produce. They stretch toward heaven until they bloom into the very thing you once begged God to send. So, my child, understand this with all your heart. The length of your waiting does not disqualify you from receiving. In fact, it is proof that your blessing has been shaped uniquely for you. God has not allowed you to wait this long only to hand you something small. The longer the wait, the greater the glory. The deeper the ache, the higher the joy. The darker the night, the brighter the dawn that is coming for you. You are closer than you have ever been. Tonight is not another delay. Tonight is not another disappointment. Tonight is the announcement that your waiting season is reaching its final pages. And as we continue, you will understand that the midnight hour is not a time of fear, but a time of divine transition. Heaven is shifting on your behalf. My beloved child, draw near once more, for the night is carrying us deeper into its meaning. You have walked with me through the waiting season, And now we step quietly into the heart of what heaven calls the midnight hour. This is not a time on a clock. It is a moment in the spirit when everything feels still, suspended, uncertain. It is the moment when darkness seems to hold its breath, when your strength feels thin, when your prayers feel tired, and when your expectations begin to tremble. Yet strangely, it is also the moment heaven chooses to move with the greatest force. The midnight hour is the doorway between what has been and what is about to be born. My child, if you look back across Scripture, across history, across your own life, you will notice something profound. God often moves at the darkest hour, at the time when human ability fades and divine intervention becomes the only answer. Midnight is when Paul and Silas sang their chains open. Midnight is when the Israelites were released from Egypt. Midnight is when Jesus spoke in parables about readiness, warning his children not to sleep through their visitation. And midnight is when heaven bends low to touch the earth in ways it does not during the day. Tonight is one such night. You may not hear the footsteps of angels. You may not feel the brush of their wings. But the air around you is not empty. It is charged with heavenly movement. Midnight is when battles in the spirit intensify, not because you are weak, but because the blessing that is coming is weighty. The closer a blessing gets to the earth, the harder darkness fights to stop it. And some of you have felt that fight. You have felt unusual heaviness, unexpected discouragement, strange disruptions, last-minute delays, a sense of pressure you could not explain. My child, none of that was random. It has been the sign that heaven's delivery is approaching. In the midnight hour, the spiritual realm is louder even when the natural world is quiet. Angels shift into position. Promises begin to move. Things that were stuck begin to loosen. But for many believers, midnight feels like abandonment, not transition. It feels like silence rather than preparation. You look around and see nothing changing. Yet behind the scenes, everything is changing. Midnight tests the heart, stretches the faith, and reveals the depth of trust. It is the moment you cannot rely on what you see. You must rely on what you believe. My beloved child, your midnight hour did not come to break you. It came to reveal you. It came to show heaven the strength that has been growing inside you. It came to expose the maturity your waiting has produced. It came to position you to receive what daytime could not deliver. For breakthroughs born in light often fade quickly, but breakthroughs born in darkness carry endurance. They come from deeper places, places carved by perseverance, faith, and unshakable trust. Tonight, the midnight hour is not just something happening around you. It is something happening for you. Heaven's clock is striking in your spirit. Something is shifting even as you listen. There is a stirring, a movement, a vibration in the unseen realm. Heaven is reorganizing itself around your name, your situation, your long-awaited blessing. The battles you have endured in silence were indicators that something powerful has been assembling for your life. And now, at this prophetic midnight, the final preparations are being completed. My child, imagine a great gate in the heavens, one that has been locked by divine timing. All your struggles, tears, prayers, and endurance have been keys placed one by one into its locks. And now, as the midnight hour approaches its fullness, the gate is beginning to shift. You cannot see the hinges, but you can feel the pull in your spirit. Something is nearing. Something is aligning. Something is descending. Midnight is not a pause. It is a procession. And I tell you this with the Father's confidence. In this midnight hour, the angels are not merely watching you. They are fighting for you. Archangel Michael himself is preparing to step forward, for his assignment begins at the deepest moment of transition. When the enemy thinks the believer is the weakest, heaven knows the believer is on the edge of breakthrough. Midnight is the crossing point. Midnight is the hinge moment. Midnight is when God whispers, "Hold on, my child, for you are minutes away from what you prayed about for years." You have not been forgotten in this hour. You have not been overlooked. Heaven has scheduled your breakthrough with precision, and this midnight is the signal that the release is close, closer than your fear, closer than your doubt, closer than your tiredness. You are standing in the final stretch of the unseen work. My beloved child, now that we have walked through the midnight hour together, let your heart prepare for what comes next, for this is the moment when heaven's war steps into sight. The atmosphere around you may feel still, but in the spirit there is a stirring like the rustling of great wings. Tonight is not a night of ordinary angelic activity. Tonight is the night when Archangel Michael himself moves on your behalf. And I want you to understand what that truly means, because when Michael steps forward, something in the unseen world trembles. Archangel Michael is not a gentle messenger. He is not sent for small matters. He is sent when God says, "Enough." He is sent when spiritual resistance has lingered too long. He is sent when your prayers have reached their fullness and the answer must be defended on its way to earth. Michael does not enter scenes of peace. He enters scenes of warfare. And my child, some of you have been in battles so quiet that even those close to you did not know how hard you were fighting. But heaven saw. Heaven heard. Heaven recorded every tremble in your voice during prayer, every sigh you released in the night, every tear that fell when you felt too tired to continue. When God chooses to send Michael, it is a sign that your blessing is no longer being formed. It is being delivered. And anything being delivered must be protected. In the spirit, blessings are not simply handed down. They travel through resistance. Every time God releases something powerful, the forces of darkness rise to intercept it. They try to delay it, distort it, or discourage the believer receiving it. But when Michael is dispatched, those interceptions fail. He cuts through the resistance like a sword through smoke. He confronts what confronts you. He overturns what opposes you. He pushes back what tries to press against your breakthrough. My beloved child, many of the battles you faced recently were not signs that God was absent. They were signs that Michael was approaching. The enemy always fights hardest when he senses angelic movement. You felt sudden heaviness because something in the spirit realm began to tremble. You felt unexpected frustration because your blessing started moving toward you. You felt spiritual pressure because the gates of heaven were shifting open. None of this was a setback. It was a signal. Tonight, Michael does not come quietly. He comes with authority. He comes with assignment. He comes with a decree sealed by God himself. And that decree is simple. Release the blessing. Remove the obstruction. Break the delay. Prepare the way for what has been promised. If only you could see the war being waged for your name this very moment, your fear would dissolve like mist in the morning sun. For Michael does not lose battles. He does not arrive uncertain. He does not carry unfinished orders. When he steps into a situation, the outcome has already been written. Victory. My child, the blessing that has taken so long to reach you was not delayed because God changed his mind. It was delayed because darkness recognized its magnitude. The enemy knows that once this one blessing lands in your life, it will shift your entire future. It will restore what was broken. It will reposition what was scattered. It will open doors that have remained locked for years. It will silence the voice of discouragement that has followed you. And it will ignite a new wave of favor around you that cannot be reversed. That is why Michael is moving. Because your blessing is too important to be hindered any longer. And even now, I want you to imagine Michael standing in the unseen realm, sword drawn, his presence bright as lightning, his stance firm, his gaze fixed on the assignment tied to your life. He is not battling for something small. He is battling for something sacred. He is battling for something long awaited. He is battling for what heaven has declared belongs to you. My beloved child, tonight is not symbolic. It is strategic. And as Michael steps into the path of your blessing, everything that resisted you begins to collapse. Everything that delayed you begins to unravel. Everything that intimidated you begins to weaken. You may not feel it in your body, but your spirit knows it. A lightness is coming. A breakthrough is unfolding. A long-fought battle is ending. And this ending will not leave you empty. It will leave you ready. For when Michael steps aside after fighting for you, what comes next is joy rising from places where sorrow once lived. What comes next is the turning of your tears. What comes next is the long-awaited laughter entering your home and your heart. But before joy arrives, understand this deeply. Tonight marks the moment when heaven finally says, "The battle for this child's blessing is finished." My beloved child, now step with me into this tender moment, for what we are entering is not a teaching, but a transformation. You have walked through waiting. You have endured midnight. You have stood while Archangel Michael fought battles you could not see. And now, the atmosphere around your life begins to soften. Something warm, something gentle, something long promised begins to unfold. This is the moment when heaven begins to turn tears into laughter, sorrow into sunrise, and heaviness into a garment of praise. My child, do not rush past this part, for this is where your heart begins to breathe again. For so long, your tears have spoken louder than your words. They have fallen onto pillows, into hands, down your face when no one was watching. They were not weak tears. They were sacred tears. Tears that came from years of trying, believing, holding on, hoping beyond what you understood. Tears that rose when disappointment struck too close. Tears that slipped out when exhaustion finally overtook the strength you carried in silence. You may not have realized it then, but every tear was a language heaven understood perfectly. My beloved child, in the spiritual realm, Tears are not signs of defeat. Tears are evidence of perseverance. Tears are seeds. Tears are incense. Tears rise where words fail. And tonight, as heaven opens over you, those tears you thought were forgotten are being gathered into God's hands like pearls collected from deep waters. He has remembered everyone. He has recorded everyone. And now He is responding to them with joy. There are moments in the life of a believer when the turning comes suddenly, moments where God decides the sorrow has served its purpose and joy must take its rightful place. Tonight is such a moment. Even if you cannot feel it fully yet, the shift has begun. It begins quietly, like the soft glow of morning before daylight stretches across the sky. It begins inside you, in the places where hopelessness once lived. It begins as a flutter, a warmth, a whisper saying, something new is coming. Something good is coming. Something I waited for is finally being released. My child, laughter is not simply the sound of happiness. In the spirit, laughter is a sign of victory. It is the proof that the battle has turned. It is the announcement that the season of mourning has reached its conclusion. When heaven decides the tears have lasted long enough, the soul begins to rise even before the circumstances change. God is not only about to bless you, He is about to restore the part of you that sorrow tried to steal. He is returning your smile. He is returning your laughter. He is returning the light in your eyes that life attempted to dim. Some of you listening right now can already feel something stirring. It may be small, but it is real. A weight is lifting. A heaviness is loosening. The pressure around your heart is shifting. These are the first signs of the divine turning. This is the moment when the long nights begin their retreat, and a joyful dawn draws near. Not a shallow joy, not a temporary joy, but a joy born from endurance, a joy formed in the fire, a joy that cannot be taken from you, because it was birthed through pain. My beloved child, the blessing you are about to receive is not only an answer, it is a healing. It will reach into the places where tears have carved deep valleys and fill them with laughter that rings like bells through your spirit. You will look back at this moment and see that heaven did not forget you. Heaven did not overlook you. Heaven was preparing you for something weighty, something lasting, something beautiful enough to justify every tear you ever cried. And before we step further into this journey, let your heart hear this. When God moves in your life, it is never for you alone. Your joy becomes a testimony. Your laughter becomes a witness. Your breakthrough becomes a beacon. So if these words are touching you, if this prophetic river is flowing into your life even now, then honor the moment. Help others encounter the same light that is finding you. Let your hands, your voice, your actions take part in spreading what heaven is pouring out tonight, for sometimes sharing the message becomes part of the miracle itself. My beloved child, let us continue walking through this sacred night, for now we arrive at the part your heart has longed for, questioned, prayed for, and sometimes even doubted would ever come. This is the moment where we speak of the blessing that took too long, the blessing that felt delayed beyond reason, the blessing that seemed to drift farther every time you reached for it, the blessing you stopped talking about because it hurt too deeply to explain. You know the one I speak of. The one your soul whispers about when the world is quiet. The one you buried in your heart so no one could see the ache attached to it. Tonight, my child, we bring that blessing into the light of God's timing. For many of you, the blessing you have been waiting for is not small or simple. It is something deeply tied to your identity, your purpose, your future, your calling, your family, your healing, your restoration. And because of its importance, the journey to receive it has been long, winding, and difficult. There were moments you thought it was near, moments you felt it slip away, moments you questioned whether it was meant for you at all. But hear me with the tenderness of a father speaking truth to his beloved child. The blessing did not delay because you were unworthy. It delayed because it was too sacred to arrive prematurely. Sometimes God hides a blessing not to keep it from you, but to keep it safe until you are ready to carry it. A blessing too powerful can crush a soul unprepared. A blessing too early can become a burden instead of a gift. And so God, in His mercy, allowed time to shape you, not to punish you, not to frustrate you, but to prepare you for what was always yours. The waiting did not weaken you. It developed you. It built endurance in your spirit. It matured your heart. It sharpened your discernment. It taught you to cling to God instead of clinging to outcomes. And now, after everything you have walked through, you stand stronger, wiser, deeper, and more aligned than you ever were before. My child, think of the armor you have gained during the years of delay. Think of the spiritual muscles you have grown. Think of the wisdom that has been etched into your soul. These are the very qualities needed to sustain the blessing you have prayed for. God was not withholding. He was preparing. For what you are about to receive requires a strength, forged in waiting, and a faith refined in fire. Had the blessing come earlier, it might have fallen apart. Had it come in a season of immaturity, you may have mishandled it. But now, you are ready to receive what once would have overwhelmed you. And hear this with the full assurance of heaven's authority. Just because the blessing took long does not mean it is lost. Heaven does not misplace what belongs to you. Even when you grew weary, heaven remained steadfast. Even when you doubted, heaven remained committed. Even when you lost heart, heaven continued preparing the very thing you thought was slipping away. The blessing was never in danger. You were simply in development. Some of you feared the delay meant denial. Others feared God had changed His mind. But tonight, the Spirit clears the fog of confusion and speaks plainly. The blessing is alive, intact, and on its way. It has not been removed. It has not been reassigned. It has not been forgotten. It has been preserved, kept in the palm of God until your spirit reached the maturity to carry it with grace and wisdom. My beloved child, I want you to imagine now what it will feel like when that blessing finally rests in your hands. The relief, the warmth, the joy, the quiet exhale of a battle finally ending. You will know in that moment why it took so long. You will see the protection and the delay. You will understand that the long road did not take from you. It prepared you. And the blessing that is coming will not be fragile. It will not be temporary. It will not be easily lost. It will be established, rooted, firm, and divinely secured. This is the blessing that shifts your entire life. The blessing that rewrites your story. The blessing that corrects the years that felt stolen. The blessing that restores what pain attempted to break. It is coming, my child. And it is coming with the full weight of God's intention behind it. My beloved child, come closer now, for where we step next is sacred ground. This part of the journey speaks of something rare, something holy, something few truly understand. The moments when heaven opens only for a brief window, offering a blessing that must be received in its appointed time. Tonight carries such a moment. Not because God is impatient, but because spiritual windows are designed with purpose, alignment, and timing. And when heaven opens, everything in your life begins to lean toward destiny. My child, I want you to understand the weight of a heavenly window. It is not simply a moment where God feels generous. It is a moment where earth and heaven align, where your readiness meets God's timing, where the battles fought over you have been settled, where the blessing long prepared is finally released. A heavenly window is not an accident. It is an appointment. It is a spiritual convergence where the unseen realm says, now. Now is the moment. Now is the hour. Now is the time for what was delayed to be delivered. But these windows, my beloved, do not stay open forever. They are not designed to. They appear when divine timing and personal readiness collide. They open when heaven has completed its preparation and you have completed yours. They appear when the angels have finished their warfare, when the path is clear, when the blessing is secure, and when your heart has reached the place where it can carry the miracle without collapsing under its weight. This is why heaven says, do not miss the moment. Not out of fear, but out of reverence for what is being offered. Many of you have felt the shift recently. You felt unusual clarity or unexpected weariness. You felt your spirit stirring or your emotions shaking. You sensed a tension you could not explain or a breakthrough you could not yet see. My child, these were signs that the window was beginning to open. Heaven does not open its gates silently. Your spirit always feels it before your eyes witness it. And some of you listening have wondered why your dreams felt louder than usual, why your heart leaned toward hope again, why your inner voice said, something is near. It is because heaven is opening a moment designed specifically for you. A divine window carries opportunity, breakthrough, restoration, and alignment all at once. It is the moment when prayers rise quickly, answers descend rapidly, and miracles take shape faster than in ordinary times. It is the moment when the wind of the Spirit blows stronger, when angelic presence moves closer, when your faith feels awakened even if your body feels tired. And tonight, my beloved child, the window is opening. Not metaphorically, spiritually, truly, intentionally. Heaven is bending toward you. But this is also why you must be spiritually awake. When heaven opens a window, the enemy tries to distract, discourage, or derail your focus. Distractions increase because the blessing is near. Old wounds resurface because healing is reaching its final stage. Weariness intensifies because the breakthrough is close. But you, my child, must discern what is happening. Tonight is not a night to look away. Tonight is not a night to retreat. Tonight is not a night to say, maybe later. For heaven's windows, though full of grace, are moment sensitive. There are blessings that can come at any time. There are blessings that are always available. But then there are blessings tied to seasons, tied to alignment, tied to prophetic timing. And the blessing you have been waiting for, the one that took too long, the one heaven guarded, the one Archangel Michael fought for, is a blessing tied to a window. This is why the Spirit whispers urgently, lean in. Stay present. Do not drift. Do not turn away. Something is unfolding for you that will not unfold again in the same way. My beloved child, imagine a great curtain in the heavens being pulled open. Light pours through it. Angels gather. Your name is spoken. Your season is recognized. Your readiness is acknowledged. This is the moment right before release. This is the window through which your breakthrough descends. And as it opens, time in the Spirit slows down, allowing what has been delayed for years to reach you quickly. This is why some blessings feel sudden, even though they took so long. They traveled through a window that operates outside the limits of earthly time. Tonight, as you listen, heaven's window tilts toward your life. And if your heart stays open, if your spirit remains awake, if your faith stays engaged, you will receive what this moment carries. The window will not close empty. It will not close without purpose. It will not close without leaving something in your life that changes everything. My beloved child, come closer still, for we are now stepping into the most urgent part of this journey. Heaven has opened its window. Archangel Michael has taken his stand. Your waiting season has matured you, and now the Spirit delivers a final call, a holy whisper wrapped in divine urgency. There is 1 hour left. One final hour before this moment in the heavens completes its assignment, and the blessing prepared for you descends in its fullness. This hour is not meant to frighten you, but to awaken you. It is the hour where your spirit must be alert, your heart attentive, your faith stirred from its quiet corner. For when heaven announces a final hour, it means the moment of release has reached its edge. My child, the phrase 1 hour left is not about earthly minutes passing on a clock. It is about spiritual proximity. It is the hour when the blessing that hovered above your life for years finally moves within reach. The hour when the breakthrough that seemed distant now stands at the door. The hour when everything God prepared begins to align rapidly, precisely, unmistakably. But this is also the hour where the believer must stay awake. Just as Jesus spoke of the midnight cry that awakened the waiting brides, this prophetic hour requires awareness, readiness, and expectation. You may have felt tired recently. You may have felt waves of discouragement trying to settle into your spirit. You may have felt distracted or overwhelmed. My child, that is because you are on the edge of fulfillment. The final hour always feels the hardest, not because the blessing is far, but because it is closest. The enemy presses hardest when heaven is preparing to deliver. Pressure increases right before breakthrough. Confusion often swirls right before clarity arrives. But now is not the moment to step back. Now is the hour to lean in with everything in you. The final hour is spiritual alignment. It is when God says, position yourself. Stand firm. Do not lose heart. Something is being placed into your life that cannot return to heaven empty. This hour is when your faith becomes the open hands into which God places the very thing you have cried for. Do not allow fear to whisper lies in this moment. Do not allow doubt to convince you that nothing is happening. Silence your anxious thoughts and listen with your spirit, for heaven is moving swiftly. My beloved child, imagine you are standing at the shoreline as the long-awaited ship finally appears on the horizon. You see its sails, you feel the rush of the wind, you hear the waves shift as it approaches. This is the final hour. It is the moment when the promise that seemed far out of sight now moves steadily toward you. You are not waiting for heaven to decide. Heaven has already decided. This is the hour of arrival. And in this hour, God is not calling you to work harder, try harder, or fight harder. He is calling you to believe. Truly believe. Believe that the years of tears were not wasted. Believe that the delays were divine protection. Believe that Michael's warfare is not in vain. Believe that the blessing is real, tangible, and appointed to you. Believe that heaven does not tease or taunt its children. Believe that when God says 1 hour left, He means that breakthrough is no longer a prophecy. It is an unfolding reality. My child, lift your head for a moment. Feel the shift in the atmosphere. The heaviness you carried is loosening. The worry gripping your heart is weakening. The spiritual resistance that once stood against you is collapsing. This hour is holy. This hour is transitional. This hour is the bridge between who you were and who you are about to become. What God releases in this hour will not just bless you, it will transform you. So remain with me in this sacred stillness. Keep your spirit open. Keep your heart awake. Heaven is releasing something too precious to be missed. This is not another ordinary moment. This is the hour written into your destiny long before you were born. When this hour ends, laughter will rise where tears once lived, and what was long awaited will finally rest in your hands. My beloved child, now we step into the most sacred moment of this entire journey. You have walked through the waiting season. You have stood through the midnight hour. You have watched Archangel Michael rise on your behalf. You have felt the window of heaven slide open, and you have heard the final call of the last hour. And now, with the gentleness of a father guiding his cherished child, I take your hand and lead you into the moment where the secret blessing, long hidden in the chambers of heaven, is released tonight. This is not a distant promise. This is not a hope for another day. This is the moment heaven has been preparing you for. My child, listen closely, for heaven speaks softly in moments like this. The blessing coming to you tonight is not ordinary, not common, not something that can be replaced or replicated. It is a blessing that was shaped specifically for your life story. It carries the details of your prayers, the fingerprints of your suffering, the echoes of your tears, and the strength of every moment you kept going when your heart felt weak. This blessing has been in the making for a long time. It is the culmination of years of spiritual endurance, unseen battles, and quiet faithfulness. Heaven does not rush such blessings. Heaven perfects them. Some of you have carried deep private battles. You smiled when your heart was heavy. You encouraged others while you yourself were breaking. You stayed faithful while you felt forgotten, and heaven watched all of it. Not one moment of your perseverance escaped God's notice. This is why the blessing coming tonight is not small. It is not a consolation prize. It is not a temporary relief. It is a restoration blessing, a realignment blessing, a life-shifting blessing. My beloved child, this blessing will touch the areas of your life you thought were permanently damaged. It will flow into the places where hope grew quiet. It will heal what sorrow tried to bury. It will lift you in ways you cannot yet imagine. For many, it will be financial restoration. For others, it will be emotional healing, reconciliation, or a breakthrough of purpose. For some, it will be supernatural elevation, opportunities opening without effort, doors unlocking that were sealed for years. And for others, it will be peace, deep, unshakable peace that washes over the soul like a warm river after a long winter. Whatever form this blessing takes, understand this truth. It is exactly what your spirit has needed, even more than what your mind has asked for. God does not release blessings that merely satisfy you. He releases blessings that complete you. And tonight, heaven is not just responding to your prayers. Heaven is fulfilling your purpose. My child, feel the shift in this moment. This is the point where heaven hands over what has been guarded by angels, fought for by Michael, preserved by God, and waited for by you. This is the moment when the spiritual realm places into your life the very thing your tears have been speaking about for years. If you feel warmth, a stirring, a heaviness lifting, a quiet peace settling on your heart, it is because the blessing is descending even now. You are being filled. You are being touched. You are being elevated. The blessing coming tonight carries freedom. It carries joy. It carries restoration. It carries divine alignment. It carries the laughter you thought would never return. It carries the certainty that God has been with you far more closely than you ever realized. And when it manifests, you will understand why the waiting was long, why the midnight hour was difficult, why Michael had to fight, and why heaven opened its window at this exact time. My beloved child, this blessing will not slip away. It will not be intercepted. It will not fade. It is sealed with God's authority, protected by Michael's sword, and destined for your life by a divine decree. And when you look back on this night, you will say with a full heart, my tears were not wasted. My faith was not in vain. My God was working all along. Now breathe deeply, for heaven is placing into your life what you have longed for, waited for, cried for, and groaned for. Tonight, the promise becomes reality. Tonight, the breakthrough becomes tangible. Tonight, the blessing touches earth. My beloved child, come close one last time, for this final moment carries a gentle power that deserves to be received with stillness and reverence. We have walked through deep waters together tonight. We have moved from waiting to midnight, to warfare, to open heavens, to release. And now, in this closing breath of the journey, heaven invites us into a sacred pause where everything settles into place. This is not the end of a message. It is the beginning of a new season in your life. My child, this final moment is where you step out of the shadows of your past and into the warmth of what God has unveiled for you tonight. This is where hope becomes something you can hold. This is where faith becomes sight. This is where the weight that used to bend your shoulders begins to fall away, not because you are stronger by yourself, but because heaven has strengthened you from within. You have walked through this entire prophetic journey with an open spirit, and heaven does not overlook a heart that listens with such hunger. Tonight, a blessing was released. Not spoken about, not hinted at, not suggested, but released. It is sealed, secured, and set into motion. You may not see the full manifestation by sunrise, but something in the spiritual realm has shifted permanently. The path ahead of you is clearer than it has ever been. The heaviness has loosened. The resistance has weakened. The angels who stood guard over your promise remain stationed as escorts for what comes next. You are not walking forward alone. You are walking with heaven's full support behind you. My beloved child, as we bring this final part to a close, I ask you to carry something important in your heart. When God gives a blessing, He calls His children to be carriers of His light. What you received tonight is not meant to stay only with you. It is meant to ripple outward. It is meant to reach others. It is meant to strengthen those who are still in their waiting season, still in their midnight hour, still in their quiet battles. So share this message, not as a duty but as an act of worship. Let your voice be part of the way heaven reaches someone else. Let your hands take part in spreading what God has planted in you tonight. Lift this message high so that those wandering in darkness may find their way to the same light that has touched your life in this hour. And as you do, know that you are partnering with heaven itself. Walk in peace, my child. Walk in joy. Walk in expectation. For the blessing released tonight will not return empty. Amen.